what do you do when a once red-hot biotech stock starts to cool off a bit? Consider the case of Sage Therapeutics, SAGE for all you home gamers. It's a development-stage biopharma company that's focused on treating central nervous system disorders, especially clinical depression. Here's a stock that's been a huge long-term winner. Last year, Sage saw its shares more than triple, including a 70% gain in a single session last December when we got some very positive phase 2 data on its depression treatment. It's so novel. But lately, it hasn't done that much. In fact, it's only up slightly. It's better than being down. It's down nearly 30 points from its January highs, though. Still, I like this story. Sage tries to develop novel drugs that address gaps in the current available treatment options. Basically, their drugs work through different pathways than the typical run of antidepressants. And they're also testing this technology on Parkinson's sleep disorders. Their lead product is a postpartum depression injection that's currently waiting for FDA approval, which means it could potentially come out in the first half of next year. It will be used. So is this stock really taking a breather? Let's dig deeper with Dr. Jeff Jonas, the CEO of Sage Therapeutics, learn more about his company and get a better sense of where it's headed. Dr. Jonas, welcome to Mad Money. Great to see you, Doc. Have a seat.
Thanks for having me.
Really terrific that you're here. All right, now let me ask you something. Say something's wrong with your liver. People say, wow, got a liver problem. Something's wrong with your kidney. So, geez, kidney problem. What happens if you say you're depressed?
You know, that's a great question, Jim. Again, thanks for having me today.
Absolutely.
We're really dedicated to thinking differently about depression and to make people think about depression like a disease and a disorder, not a lifestyle. People with depression are very ill. Women with postpartum are very ill. And they deserve the same type of urgent therapeutic interventions like someone with a broken leg might need or someone with a seizure might need.
Well, it's just such a fresh way to look at it. It's particularly at a time when I think people may not realize, but there's an epidemic of suicide. And yes, it's people taking their lives by their own hand, but it's often because of what you're trying to address.
You know, depression is obviously a leading cause of suicide, and it's also one of the leading areas of unmet medical need and one of the leading causes of workplace morbidity in the first world. Our current therapeutic options have been in place for almost 2 decades. There's been a paucity of innovation and a real reluctance to think differently about how we might treat these patients more urgently and, frankly, more effectively.
Well, what I heard when I did get to interview in a healthcare conference I was involved with, and you were involved with, postpartum depression, I was shocked to know there's really kind of nothing.
Yeah.
And you've got something that could be very close.
Well, we're really excited by this. This is an intravenous treatment called brexanolone. You're talking about 400,000 and plus women in the U.S. alone who get this diagnosis. It's one of the leading causes of maternal death after childbirth, and there are no approved therapies. We've got this drug, brexanolone, and we've done 3 controlled trials, and in all of them, we've gotten about almost a 70% remission rate after 2.5 days of treatment.
That's staggering. What would be without? If people had nothing, or like, what do they tell people? Take aspirin? What do they have?
Well, conventional therapies, you know, which aren't terrible, are SSRIs or serotonin reuptake inhibitors. You get on that drug, you wait often 6 to 8 weeks, and then you're maybe on it chronically. Today, in the U.S. alone, 25 million people are currently on chronic antidepressant therapy for 2 years or more. Our approach is the idea of getting a rapid, robust, and durable response, and the idea that if you can get better in 2.5 days, if we can achieve that, why would you wait 6 to 8 weeks?
Okay, now, when I hear that, I immediately think, because I'm familiar with some of these therapies, I would pay anything for that, so to speak. But the federal government doesn't anymore. And how do we teach the federal government that a short course that seems like it's high price is a lot less expensive than those long courses that don't do as well?
You know, we have to change the way people think about depression. You know, right now, people almost view depression like a lifestyle. We want to make it a treatable disorder.
I know.
And payers, we're in discussion with payers, obviously. And so the value proposition, we think, is innovation, getting people better in 2.5 days. Imagine if you had a broken leg, right? And if someone said, go home, maybe in 8 weeks you'll be better, and if not, we can get you better in 2.5 days. That's the kind of argument we have to make with payers and with physicians. We're really changing a business model of changing the way doctors think about depression from a chronic disorder to a treatable disorder that you can get the treatment and then stop it when you're better.
Doc, I want people to really understand this. I want you to tell them a little about how you approach this, because it was also novel versus a lot of the executives we have on.
Well, no one believed this when we started, of course. And of course, that's when you challenge conventional wisdom. And frankly, that's the fun of biotech. We can take a chance and do something different for patients. And our approach is really to change the way we think about depression. We have a molecule and a mechanism that calms the brain down. We have a different theory of depression. The brain's not a tumor. The brain is a complex neural circuitry. You can't biopsy the brain and find out what's going on. right?
No.
You have to treat people. And when you treat people, we just decided if we could calm the brain down, there might be an opportunity to reset the way the brain is working, almost like a reboot. And that was our theory. And it turns out we've done 4 studies controlled with 3 with intravenous, 1 with an oral. And each time we've seen that kind of rapid and robust response, and it's been reproducible. So that gives us a lot of confidence that we can then make this value proposition.
Now, we've really only talking about this one indication, but major depressive disorder, Parkinson's, bipolar, gigantic unmet needs, right?
You know, we made, you know, again, biotech, we have big visions. The team at Sage has done a great job embracing this kind of do big approach. And one of the things that we think distinguishes Sage is we're not a one-shot wonder, we're not a two-shot wonder. We have this great pipeline of different molecules, and we think the street is focused on depression and postpartum. We have programs potentially for Parkinson's, for essential tremor, insomnia, and other drugs that may even affect ADHD and Alzheimer's. So we're very excited.
You have to be careful with Alzheimer's. You once told me how hard that is to crack, right?
Well, you know, again, I've worked in that area, and again, it's terribly hard to crack, but we think we may have an approach that's different. And again, it's early days for us, and it's still early. We have a molecule called Sage 718 that's in phase 1 or early stage testing. So it's still early days, but we think there may be an approach to enhance cognition in Huntington's, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and even ADHD.
Well, I hope people at home understand it's the approach that the doctor is taking that makes it so that I think this is such a fabulous investment. These drugs that are coming, they're just proof of your view of life, not just medicine, but life. That's Dr. Jeff Jonas. He's the CEO of Sage Therapeutics. He's different. Stocks a buy. Mad Money's back here to the break. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.